Writeopolis, we're not just gonna kid it. Writeopolis, we're not just gonna kid, yeah. Welcome to Writeopolis, featuring authors RJ Barker, Scott K. Andrews and Kid Power, and, often, a guest. Writeopolis is recorded live via Discord on alternating Sunday evenings. A conversational show with audience participation, bark on without the BS. Funded entirely through the generosity of our Patreon backers. Patreon.com/Writeopolis podcast. Writeopolis, we're not just gonna kid it. Writeopolis, we're not just gonna kid, yeah.
When people say, "Oh, have you written?"
Oh,
we're now recording. Apparently,
yeah, we're now recording.
So I'm not sure your introduction actually worked, RJ.
Third time lucky.
Yeah.
Well. Welcome to Writeopolis with me, RJ. I didn't introduce us either, which I meant to do. Me, RJ Barker, Kit Power, and Scott K. Andrews, who are two of your usual hosts. One who has just worked out how to get in here, and we can't turn him off. And this week's guest, who is Mark Catley, who is just a writer, though he's written an awful lot of things you have probably seen or heard, and he's done the stage and the screen, and he's won 2 BAFTAs, one for Casualty and one for EastEnders.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so we've sort of covered you now. That's it.
We've introduced, yeah. So you had asked me off air what I refer to myself as, and I always say writer, and then people say, "Oh, have you got any books?" And then I have to say, "No, I write for TV." So I really should just get used to saying I'm a TV writer, because that's like the quickest and easiest explanation.
But you're a theatre writer as well, aren't you? You do. That's how I met.
Yeah. When they commission me, I write for theatre. Yeah. When they're open.
Do you have a favourite?
There's a weird. Oh no, that's a really long answer. I'll try and think of a short version of that answer. I'd say theatre, because you get to see the audience's reaction straight away.
Okay.
And TV tends to be a little bit more cutthroat. But my last 2 experiences of theatre were probably the most cutthroat experiences in my life. So I'm very confused by that question. Is my answer.
So what have we all been watching in the 2 weeks since we've been off? I have mostly been watching Jonathan Creek, because my son loves a murder mystery, so we thought we'd introduce him to Jonathan Creek. We didn't realise, actually, it's a lot more grown up than I remembered. And there's a lot of stuff in it. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in it. We've been where he's been going, what are they talking about there? And we're just going, when you're older, yeah, you'll understand why he's got his hand down that lady's top. But the mysteries in it are still fantastic, though I think actually the scripts are quite flabby in what we're used to now. Kit,
probably of its time, wasn't it, Jonathan?
Yeah. And Kit, I think you've been watching MCU movies, haven't you?
Yeah, over the last 5 days. So that's been a new, because we've had Disney Plus for a little while, and finally we kind of succumbed to the inevitable and decided to do, because I know I didn't see them in order when they first came out. I think I have seen all of the MCU movies, but I've certainly not seen them in order. And yeah, we decided to sit down with Kiddo and watch them, but we're watching them in the order that they happened in the universe rather than the order they were released in. Which means you start with Captain America and then you go straight to Captain Marvel, because that's the one that was set in the 80s. So you start with your World War II sort of gangbusters type narrative, and then you go straight to whatever the hell Captain Marvel is, and then it's Iron Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor. Although the order of those you could switch them around, but that's the order we did, because I just couldn't face 2 Iron Mans in a row. And we've just done Iron Man 2 tonight, and then we've got Thor next, and then Avengers Assemble, and that'll be phase 1. And I'm sort of live tweeting as we watch them as well. So if you're following me on Twitter at KitGonzo, I mean, as usual, it's the usual disorganized. I'm not hashtagging it or anything, but if you happen to stumble across some random comment about one of the Marvel Phase 1 movies, click on it and read the rest of the thread. You'll probably see my thoughts as they unspool. I mean, the headline is I'm just having a lot of fun with it. They are just they're just really high quality entertainment. And it's what's interesting is I've forgotten how rough the first Iron Man movie is. Like, it's really, they're visibly figuring out how to make this kind of film, and they haven't got it all worked out yet. It's tonally very odd. There's this kind of war crimes angle stuff that's really, really heavy and just totally tonally out of step with everything they do for the rest of the cinematic universe. And it's kind of difficult because it's like, well, Stark, you can't get away from the fact that Stark's an arms dealer first and foremost. It's just kind of like, I mean, let's be charitable and call that a morally grey way to make a living, and it's like, and they don't. It's really funny how the way they deal with their anxiety around that as the movies develop is really entertaining to me, because I fundamentally don't like Tony Stark very much as a character. I don't like it. I'm not saying you shouldn't write unpleasant people as starring roles. I think you should when it works. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it was Iron Man 2 tonight. I know it's just all about Mickey Rourke tonight. Mickey Rourke was just, I think I just watched a movie with him and Hammer having conversations where Hammer, just talks like a complete idiot, and Mickey Rourke just stares at him for several days.
I'm the world's biggest Mickey Rourke fan.
Yeah,
absolutely adore him. Yeah.
It's interesting what you were saying about watching them try to work out how to make that kind of movie in the first Iron Man, because Jeff Bridges did this interview where he said that he just couldn't get the hang of it because everyone was literally making it up. They were writing scenes in the morning and filming them in the afternoon. And he got more and more stressed out because he thought that it was completely out of control. And then he said he had this sort of come to Damascus moment where he realized that if he just thought of it like they were making a really, really high budget student film and he treated it with this, then he'd be fine.
That's interesting because I think Bridges is far and away the best thing about Iron Man 1. I think he's phenomenal.
He's far and away the best thing of pretty much everything he's in.
Yeah, it's often true.
Have you done films, Mark?
Have I written any?
Yeah. Have you brought them to fruition?
No, nothing to fruition. I've got a very funny but long story about Dolph Lundgren. Back when I was staying out, and he commissioned me out of his own pocket to write a film, and then he got the role in what's the movie where all the action heroes come back together?
The Expendables.
Yes, he got that, and so it never happened basically. So that was the closest I ever got to making a film.
We had Mark Stay on a couple of weeks ago, and he did the film Robot Overlords, which is
cool title.
It's a fun film for like a 12, 13-year-old. Bang on.
Yeah, Craig's being a pain in the butt, but we're just going to keep going. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we've got the backup. The backup bot's going now, so hopefully we'll be all right anyway.
Yeah, we don't understand technology. This is the big flaw. Like this for us, Mark.
No, we're still speaking English here.
You'd think that might have an impact on people doing, a broadcast via the internet, but they didn't really slow us down, to be honest.
No.
Katie's shaking a fist. Oh, shaking a fist at the Expendables because we never got the Mark Catley project.
Oh yeah, it was great as well. It was called The Gentle Giant. It was based on a Filipino martial art and everything. It was so exciting. I loved it. But yeah, never to be. Maybe. Unless I dig it up.
How much of what you want to do dies before it? Because we tried doing my Assassin books. And
we did.
But
I've not stopped, mate.
Haven't you?
No. I'm still good. I still want to do that as a series. Your Assassin's book. But this is the problem. I mean, it's a strange time to be a writer in TV. And I'm really not the demographic that they're looking to employ at the moment, which I'm not complaining about. I've had my day in the sun. And I'm sure my time will come round again. But yeah, kind of male and 50 is not where they're looking for the new ideas at the moment. So it is tricky to get stuff made. But you only need one good episode to showcase yourself again, and people will suddenly get interested in what it is that you've got to say, and then you can get some series off the ground. So no, never say never. Sorry.
No. What have you been watching recently?
This thing. I mean, I finished Netflix in about September. It was awkward. I won't tell you how it ends. I won't ruin it for everybody. And then we just started. I found myself like going on to catch up and watching Richard Osman's House of Games and stuff, and thinking, how low has life got that I am watching quiz shows at 9 o'clock at night. And also we've really, me and the wife have really struggled to watch drama, to find dramas that have hit the right tone.
Now recording.
Oh, good stuff. That hit the right tone, that don't depress the life out of you. Because as much like we watched I May Destroy You, loved it, but didn't really make you feel good about
heavy,
it.
Wasn't it? Yeah, that was heavy.
But what I am watching and I'm loving is that my little girl, she's 6 this week. She's 6 on Thursday. She's a little beauty. She's suddenly started to get into Harry Potter. So I was like, okay, they're a bit scary, but we're going to watch one. And we've watched one every weekend for the last 3 weekends so far. And she is not like me as a child, because I was terrified and I'd be hiding behind the sofa. She just turns around and smiles when the big snake's there and goes, "It's not real, is it?" I went, "No." And to watch Harry Potter through her eyes is one of the biggest joys I've had
that's magic.
Last year. It's genuinely magic. Really is. The films, you just kind of see them from their perspective. You think, God, you think that's real? You think, Dumbledore is taking them lights out of the light bulbs and stuff like that. And, her face, and she's cheering when they're playing Quidditch and stuff like that. And it kind of, I loved the books when I first read them, even though I was in my late 20s. They really reinvigorated my reading of novels, to be honest with you. And then I thought the films were okay. I didn't really take much notice of them. But now watching the films with the little one next to me, it's like, oh, God, yeah, these were spot on.
Have you
absolutely nailed it.
Have you read anything good recently? I've read something great that I'm going to evangelise about in a minute. What's everybody been reading? If you've been reading, I've really struggled, actually.
I've struggled, I must confess. I've been rereading graphic novels that I've had for years. Just for comfort, I think. Comfort
Which
reading.
ones?
Yeah, me too. Comics have sustained me through this.
Yeah.
So, which ones have you been reading?
Well, I've got the full collection of Charlie's War, which is actually a British comic book from the 1950s, battle comic.
I've got that as well.
Yeah. And so, I've got every episode basically in graphic novel form, and it is just unbelievably good.
Is it Pat Mills?
It is Pat Mills. And Joe Colquhoun is the artist, I think, on it. And it's great. It's brilliant to find something British that is that good.
Yeah. Because you went on to do Slaying and Nemesis as well, which are both absolutely fantastic, and things that are a massive influence on how I write. Yeah. And what I write. What about you, Scott? What have you been?
Oh, golly. I've been reading nearly all of Terry Moore's stuff. So I went back and I read Strangers in Paradise again, which that's good. I love so much. Yeah. And then I'd never read anything he'd done beyond that. So I just bought every single other thing that he'd done and finally read through those as well. So, Motor Girl is great. Rachel Rising. There's another one, the name of which escapes me. But yeah, Terry Moore. Love him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still reading Tracy's collection of Spit Myself Out. I'm really having to ration it because the stories are heavy and I'm having to spend time with them thinking about them. So I'm reading I think I'm reading one of those like every other night and then dipping into other things in between. I'm reading Joe Hill's Strange Weather, which is a collection of 4 short novels, and I just finished the second one, which is called Loaded, and I just felt like I've been punched in the face. I mean, it was just absolutely, in a good way, I think, but just what a absolutely stunning. It's really a kind of, it's a crime novel, I guess, at heart, but it's really a rumination on America's love affair with a firearm, and it's just. But that makes it sound like it must be horrendously preachy, and it's far from it. It's just really gritty. It's a really, really, really good kind of crime novel type narrative, except it's using it to do something different. So you're not getting it's not a murder mystery or anything like that. But the way it builds the characters, there's an incredible confidence in his voice as well. Because the narrative takes place over 20 years in total. And just his confidence with just setting it up with these early scenes and then fast forwarding 15 years and just trusting the reader's going to go with him. And so that was good. And the ending just really did sit me on my arse. It's a brilliant, dark, horrible, fantastic ending. So there's that. And then I've got a new book from our guest who is joining us in a fortnight's time, which I am just going nuts because I haven't managed to get to it yet. I'm really excited about reading that, but we'll talk about that in a fortnight.
We'll tell you his name at the end of the thing. Sorry, I've got pills in my mouth. I've not just suddenly had something wrong with my tongue or something wrong.
So the conversation's got to the point, RJ, where you're popping pills live
and
on the air. Because I seem to remember people making commentary about me having the odd beer. I'd just like to point out to the citizens of Writeopolis that RJ is actually popping pills on the air now. I'm not judging.
I'm going to join in. Is it compulsory? I'm going to join in now.
You do.
I'm just got half an ear going. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kit, you did bring your speed, didn't you?
I'm going to drop some omega-3. Yeah.
The hard stuff.
Living on the edge, man.
Yeah. I've just finished, and it's the first book I've managed to read in a long time. I've just been dying with every book, and it's not the books, it's me. I know it is. I can't concentrate. But I've just finished Slough House, which is Mick Herron's new...
Ooh.
And it's an astounding book. It's just, I mean, he writes beautifully. Every page has something on it that I wish I'd written. And but what's really amazing is I don't know if you're familiar with them. I know you are, Scott. You know them, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Do you know them, Kit?
No, not familiar.
You come across them, Mark? They're ostensibly spy thrillers, but this isn't spoilery as much as I can make it not spoilery. He sets up a hero character when he starts writing the series, and it becomes quite obvious as you read them that that's not the way the books are going, and it's not actually about what he thought they were about. So something has been coming that I've been expecting, and he still absolutely pulled the rug out from underneath me. It's just masterful. I loved it as a reader, and then I loved it as a writer as well on both levels, just thinking that was a brilliant bit of writing, and you are so clever to make me not see something that was in front of me throughout the entire book and I should have seen. It's just, I can't rate Mick Herron highly enough. Infuriatingly good. I always say the same thing to people, that you should buy Slow Horses, the first one, and if you don't like it, I'll refund you the price of the book.
Well, that is the only reason I started reading them, is because you pinned me to a wall and ranted to me about them for about 5 minutes. And I was like, yes, okay, I'll read it now. Now back up.
But they really are that good, aren't they? It's offensive.
Oh, yeah.
I always say there's this bit in the first book where he talks about somebody stopping and pretending to look at a mobile phone, which is... and you can't tell the difference between him and somebody actually looking at his mobile phone. And it's just such an obvious little bit of observation that is true. And I'd just never seen written down before. And I just thought, oh, you git. One thing I wanted to talk about with Mark, because we're novel writers, and people associate novel writers with writing like a lot. We write 90 or 160,000 words books. But you once told me how much you usually write in a day.
Yeah.
And it's going to make everyone sick, is there?
Well, you used to always put on your word count, didn't you, and stuff like that.
Yeah, when I'm writing I do. Just to keep myself going.
I'd look at that and go, I did that this morning. What's he on about? But I think with TV scripts, especially if you've kind of planned what it is that you're writing, and if you know the show well enough, you can fair bang out some pages. I mean, I was on average doing about 15 pages a day when I was in the thick of it with the...
that is mad.
Yeah, it seems like a lot, but actually I was finished by about 1 o'clock. I was out playing golf.
It works out as about 7,000 or 8,000 words.
So is that when you were working on EastEnders and Casualty and shows like that?
Yeah. Okay. So it was probably 2 years ago I stopped working on them shows.
All right.
And it was because of that, really. It was a hell of an output to have to try and maintain. And EastEnders was actually even worse. I mean, not worse, but tougher,
more intense. Yeah,
much more, at times, just because of just because of what was going on there. I was having to write a week's worth of episodes in a week.
I wanted to ask that. So, what is the lead time? Because that show, I mean, what are they really doing? 4 days a week or 5 now? What is EastEnders on?
It was 4 days a week.
It was 4, yeah.
At the moment, with COVID shooting, I know they're doing 20-minute episodes, and I think it's on 3 times a week.
Okay, so they've cut back. But even working at the pace of 4, what's that? And that's going to be 28 minutes because it's the BBC, right? So there's no adverts. So it's. Yeah.
I mean, that was very unheard of. I did that twice, and it's hardly ever been done before. It was because the lead time had gone down to something stupid like 3 weeks.
That's what I wanted to ask, because it must have been a massive position. Yeah, because the impact on the actors as well must be.
Yeah, huge, because they've got no time to learn it, and if you make changes, they want to kill you, quite rightly.
Because you were basically the showrunner for EastEnders when you were doing.
Yeah, I went in with a guy called John York, who's written a very, very good book called Into the Woods about writing, which I don't know if any of you have managed to catch, but it is very good about writing structure and writing across different genres, novels and film and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, me and him went in. He was exec producer. I was kind of head lead writer, whatever. And we just tried to get it back to normal, really, because it had kind of lost its way a little bit. And there was, like I said, there was a 3-week lead time when we took over, and there was a 3-month lead time by the end of it. So we'd kind of achieved what we wanted. You
really were writing the ship. That was really like a big part of what you were doing there.
Yes, yeah. And for a time we were just bailing out water, and it was just bilge. We were just anything to keep it afloat. But then after 5 or 6 months of doing that, I think we managed to do some really good storytelling and stuff that we're quite proud of. And then to get a BAFTA at the end of it was kind of like, all right, we did okay. You don't know when you're in the middle of it, you ain't got a clue.
Right.
And then something like that happens, and you think, all right, we nailed it in the end. Like, we thought we were, drowning at times, but we got there.
So that's amazing. It reminds me of something Terence Dix, who was the script editor on Doctor Who, said when someone asked him about, what he was trying to do when he was writing, what was his objective and what was he trying to say. And his answer was, I'm just trying to make sure they don't have to show the test card at 5:25 on Saturday night.
Yeah. I'm just trying to keep in a job. That's it.
Yeah. Is there stuff you do when you're writing for television that feels like work and stuff that you're really invested in, or do you find a way, even if it's something that might not be your sort of thing, to become invested in that?
I think I found a very quick and easy way to get to translate stuff so that I can do it in my voice. I often cheat and maneuver a story so that it becomes something that's within my comfort zone. But there's enough elasticity in soap and continuing drama to be able to do that. You can take a story and go, well, I wouldn't really just sit around a table and talk about this subject. I'd go out and show it in action, and then you can do that. So I'll always bring it back to your own voice. I mean, I've always said that. And,
I remember you talking about Casualty and saying you do like 4 or 5 episodes that they want, so they'll let you do something you absolutely would like to do yourself.
Yeah. So I worked for Casualty for 15 years on and off, and they were fabulous to me. But I had to write them a few normal Casualty episodes before I earned the spurs to go off piste. And like I was really into the film Sin City. And for some reason, I thought that kind of style would really work on Casualty. I have no idea why I thought that. We did a hobby Sin City. And it was great. And, the actors still talk about it now and say that was the best thing we've ever done. It was shot in black and white. It was always raining. Big trench coats going on and stuff like that. And femme fatale. It was fun. So, they did let me have some fun and write some of my own stuff.
Have you got a favourite moment that you've put on television? Or is it that?
Well, no, it's not. And it's kind of frustrating. The 5th episode I ever wrote for Casualty was one called Sex and Death, which was basically the diary of a young trainee doctor, who'd committed suicide. So the episode before ended with us seeing that she'd hung herself. And my episode was, we went back 6 months and we realised that someone had found a diary and was reading it. And it was done in one draft, which has never happened again, never even close to happening again. But you know when you're just so into something and you've kind of, you're so desperate to write it because you've given it so much thought and you've kind of worked it all out in your head. And I've heard this happen with Terminator 2. Not that I'm comparing it to Terminator 2, but apparently that was written in like 12 days or something daft like that.
Huh.
A very short time. And so I did. I just sat down and I didn't stop writing until it was finished. I think it took me 2 days. Because I cared about it. I cared about saying, the mental health of these people is at risk because of the way we push them, and it was really character driven as well, which was lovely. And funnily enough, today I was thinking about it. It was like I was preempting that question, and it was that idea of just being so into a character that you wanted to show different aspects of them, and show beneath the skin, and just really get into that character's mind. And when you do it right, then that's when you get away with just doing one draft.
And I imagine actors love a script like that too, because that really gives them a chance to just let rip, right?
Yeah. I mean, this actor, she was fabulous, and we were actually going to let her go. The idea was that she hung herself. The end, but everyone was saying we can't get rid of her. She's too good. So I came up with this idea of, well, did she kill herself? Did it succeed? So we have got a. We've got a show full of doctors and nurses, for God's sake. If we can't save one of our own, we're screwed.
I think I see a way out of this.
Yeah, I think I've spotted a loophole.
Nice.
But yeah, so short answer is yes, I wrote the best thing I've ever written about 12 years ago.
So far, there's still time.
Yeah.
I think me and Kit have spoken about a lot on this. It's how we were like working class kids, Kit from somewhere down south, but they're not actually working class. They're all quite posh, really.
I was going to say, how can you be working class then from down south?
I know, but
Southwest. Trust me.
Southwest.
Oh yes.
Oh, fair enough, mate.
Trust me. There's some serious pockets of humanity, man.
I spent a lot of time in Bristol.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I was places south and west of Bristol, and there ain't a lot there.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
But it never really occurred to me and Kit that the idea of writing for a living was realistic when we were younger. But you managed. You're from quite Beeston, which is more working class than where I was.
Hey, it's not competition, okay?
He's got.
Yes, I am.
Right,
the Mean Street. I've lived in Beeston, and it's the only place I've been mugged twice on the same night. And I didn't get anything because I was skint. It was the same person who tried to mug me, and I was like, I don't have anything.
Still not got anything.
Did you have your hair up the second time or something? Did he not recognise you?
No, he was just very drunk.
Oh,
it was is it the Tommy Was?
Yes, that's where my mum lives, near the Tommy Was.
Yeah, it was outside the Tommy Was, and I think he just wanted some beer money, and he picked off this metal.
Well, ironically, that's the posh end of Beeston up there. It really is.
Of course, RJ got mugged in the posh end. That's just. Is there anything more on brand than that for the Killer Leeds?
But I'm interested in how Mark went from school to writing for television, because it's not they do not tell you in schools in Leeds, have you thought about writing for a living, that you say something like that and they laugh in your face.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought it might be quite interesting for people to hear about your, should we say, journey, like twats.
Oh yeah, let's have a journey. That word is overused so much now.
Yeah, it's awful.
Every program has got a journey now. I'll try and keep it simple, but the gap from school to being a writer was probably about 15 years. So I worked basically when I left school. I did, what I felt was normal jobs for somebody like me from where I was. So I worked in the building industry, delivering skips. I couldn't drive. I was the idiot sat in the passenger seat.
I thought you were going to say on your back.
Yeah, dragging him around Beeston. That's how tough it was around there. We had to drag a skip up Cemetery Hill. And then I did loads of jobs like that. And is the child still there? Is the child still listening that was listening before?
Scott, is your child still there?
He is. He's holding his finger up to his lips. He's saying, "Don't mention me. Don't pretend I'm not here." He's throwing a crock at me.
Okay, good lad.
Well, right between the eyes.
So I kind of got into the party scene. Would be the simplest way of saying what I want to say, and it opened my eyes to what am I doing? What do I want to do with my life? Wow. Which is never a question I was asked. It was never a question that anybody asked of me or I asked of myself. And kind of partying and kind of enjoying that hedonistic life. I was like, what do I want to do? And I'd always liked acting, and I joined a youth theatre in South Leeds, where I'm from. And the guy there was a guy called Dave Kelman, was just the most interesting dude. He was like a 6'5" communist, anti-fascist. Used to hand out the anti-fascism fanzine at Ellen Road and stuff like that. He kind of opened my eyes to a whole new world that I didn't know existed, and he got me into it. Basically, it's the very short answer. Like, he got me to pack in the stupid job that I was doing and not earning enough money, and wasting my life living in a bedsit. And he got me to go back to college and move back in with my mum, and then went to university. So I did a BTEC at Leeds Park Lane. It's probably worth mentioning a BTEC at the moment, because the performing arts ones are in trouble, which I think is a disgrace, because it's I couldn't have gone and done A-levels. I was thick as two short planks. There's no way I'd have got through A-levels. But I was ready to be moulded, and the BTEC was the perfect thing to do that. As it still is for a lot of kids from that. It's the working class entry level to that sort of world.
It's weird how we talk about intelligence, because you're saying, like, I was thick, but you weren't actually. You just weren't ready. And these things...
Yeah, that's all it was. I was probably...
and you weren't well served by the school system. I mean, I'm sorry, but I get quite angry about that for various reasons.
Yeah, I was, I was probably like one of the two top students at primary school. I think that quite quickly got kicked out of me in high school.
Right, yeah.
And ended that with very little at all. So, it was kind of rediscovering that boy that went to primary school, really.
I've always said that's why I went into music, because it seemed possible for someone like me to do something creative, because I could see people. Yeah. But books were my first love.
Well, yeah. I mean, even at primary school, I used to love writing stories. But even when I went to college, I just thought, well, all I could be is an actor. Because maybe I can get Emmerdale if I'm lucky. That was kind of my ambition. But luckily, I was a dreadful actor. And me and a couple of friends, who one of them is Kelly Hollis, who's done really well. She's been in loads of shows since then. And we're both from the very same street in Beeston. We would just create our own work and tour it around community centres and youth clubs in Leeds. Right. Like, it's the roughest dives you've ever met in your life.
Because that's proper work.
It's proper work, yeah. It's like coalface. When people think of, actors poncing about, it is the opposite of that.
So when we talk about like submitting to agents for years, and how hard that is, it's not actually being beaten up in a working men's club for.
Yeah, it's not like saying, "Excuse me, young man, would you put the knife down, please? We haven't quite finished yet. The play's not quite finished, and we're only acting. But I'm not really attacking anybody." And so we did that, and then I ended up writing the scripts basically, and people would watch it and go, "The script's good." Like much to that male actor. But so let's get something on. So, basically got manoeuvred into being a writer from wanting to be an actor. Got a very good break with Channel 4, writing a show called Tina Goes Shopping back in like late 90s. And then the Playhouse. Well, I had a very weird kind of bump into the person who worked with Andrea Dunbar on Rita, Sue and Bob 2. Which is probably one of the greatest pieces of work to come out of Bradford. So the team that made that kind of discovered Andrea Dunbar, although she already existed, I'm sure. They came back up to Leeds and Bradford, and a load of people said to them, "Oh, a mate of ours does that same sort of shit that you do." So Max Stafford Clark, who was the gaffer at of the company out of joint, and I think he was also at the Royal Court, the artistic director of the Royal Court or something. He was some big cheese. I'd never heard of him. Kind of got in touch and then went out for a meal, and I told him a bit about myself, about the stuff I wanted to write. And he wrote this very short and very curt letter to West Yorkshire Playhouse, as it was then, saying, "Why the F is this writer not working for you? He's right on your doorstep. Are you blind?" And it was that curt. Nice. And it was amazing because they were just in transition. There was a new artistic director taking over. So a guy called Ian Brown took over and read the letter and went, "Okay, then, let's see what he's got to say." And then that was it. I was away. I ended up having 6 shows on at West Yorkshire Playhouse. And then, they put me in touch with the BBC when they were looking for regional voices.
Right.
I think this, when I said earlier about it's not my time, it's kind of, and I don't mind, because I was very lucky that back then it was my time. So in 1999 or 2000, the BBC was specifically looking for regional voices that weren't from London.
Right.
And, I hit that demographic very, very sharply and managed to, succeed with the chances and opportunities that I were given from that point. So, you get good luck and you get your time, and you get time when you just need to sit down and wait. And now's the time to sit down and wait.
I met Mark through his work. He was doing a thing called "You Want to Be a Writer" at the Playhouse, where you went along and you got to go at being a writer for them. And I think I met you. I always say that I think if people are reading my books now, they are part of it to you, because I think I came across you at just the right moment when I had all the bits in my head, and you made sense of them.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, I can put that together now into stories. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I did a lot of them courses. I think I did 8 years of them, and had a lot of writers come through them. And yours is a voice that really stuck with me, because you were clever and you used lived experience. And you always use lived experience, and I think you do in your books now. I can see it in there.
Yeah.
But you used it in a very clever genre kind of way. You wrote a thing set on a space station at one point, I remember. Yeah. But it was very you as well at the same time. So you kind of got that thing of having a voice, but then also having the guts to create a universe for that voice to exist in as well. But we've got some amazing writers through there.
Yeah.
If you look at the list of alumni that came through there, there's some very successful writers that have come through through that tiny little course that we did for free.
It was really good. It was, and the thing that you've said that has always stuck with me, and I tell people, we try not to give writing advice because people talk about it, but it is really good advice. Is you said, what does your character want and what do they actually need, and those two things should work against each other. And that is just genius.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
It's just like, of course. I don't actually want what I need. I want something completely different. Fantastic. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Well, the most satisfying stories are the ones where they don't get what they want, but they get exactly what they need.
Yeah.
I think. Anyhow, I think they're going back to Tony Stark a little bit. He's a little bit like that. I'm not sure he's a character who knows what he wants, but he kind of needs
a drink. It's just part of the problem. No, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Because it is that, like, and it's kind of, let's be real, it's quite obnoxious. Because it's like, well, you're a billionaire and you've got everything you could possibly, but it is still, but there's a thing like, yeah, but it's not satisfying. I'm not, I'm not fulfilled as a human being, whatever the hell that means, and it is kind of like, it's obnoxious because you look at that, but you're Robert Downey Jr. Like, actually, you probably are okay. But in story terms, absolutely, yeah, it's that thing like, well, so, because why are you so self-destructive still? Well, because not getting what I need, whatever that is,
Does he ever work out what it is?
I think I think it does.
Just spoilers.
Massive spoiler, but I would say as well that I think, for all their indelicate handling of dealing arms, they balanced it out cosmically in Black Panther, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe the message of Black Panther is phenomenal. I couldn't believe. Do you know? Sorry, again going back a little bit, asking me what I was watching. We went through a week of where we watched everything that Chadwick Boseman had ever made.
Oh wow!
And that guy's canon is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's gorgeous. And then I realised at the end of it, I'd not seen Black Panther. I thought I had, but it was Civil War or whatever one that he.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I'd somehow ticked off Black Panther in my head. So at the very end of it, I got the joy of watching Black Panther for the first time.
Oh my God! I mean, that film is just, amongst a lot of other things, because it's a great bit of storytelling, but visually, it is just delicious, isn't it? It's just like, my God, it's beautiful to watch.
It really is, and politically, it just steps into places that you've never heard Hollywood step into before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Killmonger's one of the great villains because he's barely a villain. He's barely a villain.
Yeah, you're cheering him, aren't you?
Absolutely, he's really sympathetic. You can't say his anger's not justified. It reminds me of, I don't know. There's a few villains in that mold, but I think it's really, really exceptional. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot the original question was, Adrian.
So have I.
My tablet's kicked in, mate.
We don't know what the question is, but we're all coming up, and that's what matters.
There you go.
I've written a note here. It says Mark Technical Into the Woods. So if you could tell us about that, Mark, whatever that means.
Technical Into the Woods.
You have no idea what that was about at all.
That was me saying John York. That's John York's book.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it is. Good. Yeah. Right.
And it's got a lovely premise at the beginning of it where it suggests that the ability to tell story is within all of us from a very young age, because we're very used to, as children, we're very used to having stories read to us or told to us or made up and what have you. And the book starts with a story written by, I think, an 8-year-old, which is along the lines of there's some kids and they want to go on holiday, but they can't afford to go on holiday. They find a treasure map. They have to fight a monster to get to the treasure. They beat the monster and they go on an even better holiday. And this was actually written by my son at primary school. And it was probably the only thing he's ever written in his entire life. And I remember I was doing a course with John and I showed him it. I went, "Isn't this what you're talking about?" And he looked at it and he went, "Yeah, that's perfect structure." And I was like, "All right, there you go." And so it's the first page of the book. And
that's crazy.
It's really interesting. I mean, it reminds me of something. I remember I cured myself of it. For a while, I was listening to Dan Harmon a lot. He did a podcast called Harmontown for about a year. And it's obviously the guy who wrote Community and various other things. But I remember him talking about when he hires writers and he talks about the writer's room. He's talking about the writer's room for Community. And he said the first thing he tells them when he's hired them and he's got them around the table is, you are all experts in story. You have spent your entire life absorbing stories, reading them, listening to them, watching them. You know story on an instinctive gut level. Trust those instincts. That's what it's about. And it's similar to what you're saying. Like, actually, it is innate to us, and we are. And even if it, nature versus nurture, right? Who knows? But the point is, we're completely steeped in it from the moment of birth, pretty much.
I just want to point out that Fiddles has said you missed us listening quietly and interestedly for some time. That has literally never happened at Writeopolis.
That's true.
Before.
I don't think I've ever seen the chat this quiet. That's a really good sign. Yeah.
But anyway, go back to what you were about to say, Mark.
I can't remember. I ain't got a clue.
He's been distracted by the purple spiders, you guys. We knew this was a danger.
I'm just staring at my hand. It's moving like crazy.
Skin is amazing.
I do remember. I remembered what I was going to say. It was when so I'd been a writer for maybe 4 or 5 years before I worked in television. And then when I started writing TV, it was like, oh my God, I'm home. This is where all them hours as a child of watching the $6 Million Man, The Incredible Hulk, and the A-Team, this is where they all pay off, right here and now. And it was just a comfortable form for me to write in. I just really felt like I knew this world. It's like, I know TV shows. I know what happens in them. I've watched enough of them. So that's why, not being read the classics as a child was probably a benefit to me. For once. So yeah. We are.
My agent said that. I said one of the things, because my agent sounds very posh. We've had him on, and he's lovely. But and I said to him, I always feel a bit bad because I've never read Shakespeare. We just didn't do it at my school. It's never come into my life. And he just went, you know Shakespeare because you've seen it a million times on television.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's there. And I don't think we realise how much of the stuff that we think is really clever is actually imbued in us anyway through different formats.
Yes. Well, I mean, in the structure of mainstream American TV, when it's commercial, it's done in 5 acts because of the ad breaks, and that is Shakespeare. Shakespeare wrote in 5 acts. And,
did you watch Giri Hadji, Mark?
Did I watch what's it?
Giri Hadji. I
didn't know. No, I've seen it often, and the title is really intriguing as well. But no, I've not had a chance.
It is the most amazing bit of television I've seen, possibly in the last decade.
Right.
And you should make time for it.
Yeah.
Just because they're telling a crime story which you know, and also just messing about with the form. And they do something at the end of it, and me and my wife were sat here in tears. Just utterly unexpected. And don't let anybody tell you anything about it. Just watch it, because when it comes, it's not what you're expecting, and it's genuinely beautiful and narratively amazing.
Oh, brilliant. I will. That's written down.
Yeah. It's on Netflix, actually, so you've not quite finished it. That's the end credit scene for you.
I didn't wait till credits to finish rolling.
There you go.
The thing. It's like that MCU.
Did you watch it, Kate? Have you seen Giri Hadji?
No, I haven't. It is on the list, but no, I just haven't got to it yet.
I'm on episode 6.
Why? Are you on episode 6? Oh, when you finish it, we can talk about it, but not on here, because we can't. We genuinely cannot ruin it for people. It's just amazing. I'd love to do an episode where we just talk about Giri Hadji, actually, at some point. But that's another thing. We're coming up to the end of the official hour, so I'm going to... Kit invented the phrase urtext, which is completely unique to him, and no one has ever had that idea before. You did. And we ask every writer that comes on, what are the books or films or bits of media that had that effect on you just the right moment, that they're kind of always there?
Oh, I wish you'd have asked me this before I came on, and I'd have thought of some really intelligent answers.
No, that's not the point of this podcast.
Do you know the thing that I always find myself rewriting, and it goes into this want and need thing. But as a child, I used to watch relentlessly over and over again the film Rocky. And that notion of someone who didn't believe in themselves being given an opportunity beyond their means and not succeeding, but succeeding in gaining belief in themselves. I feel like I'm kind of repeating that quite often with the stuff that I'm writing. And that's the sort of hero I like. Not necessarily one who wins the day in the end, but one who tries the best.
Do you do podcasts, Mark?
No, No, it's the first time I've ever done anything like this.
Oh, there's a podcast called In Search of Drago. I'll send you a link to it.
Right. Oh, I've got Drago's number if they want it.
Oh, God. That would be genuinely amazing. But it's about somebody wrote a piece of fanfic about Rocky. And then they try and track down the author of it because he's apparently a Pulitzer Prize winning author and he's done these other books that are talked about mythically. And they'd done a different podcast and people had mentioned this writer and they try and track him down. It is the best piece of kind of meta fiction that eats itself as it goes. It's just brilliant. I think if you like Rocky, I think you'll love it. So I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah. I still love Rocky. I can't get off it. Nothing will surpass it.
Don't say that to Kate. Kate will fight you.
What was Rocky 2?
No, RoboCop. But
I love me a RoboCop. Love it.
No, but I'm not gonna. I mean, Rocky's phenomenal. I mean, it's just like, and it's for me, it's the fact that the fact that Stallone wrote that. I still think like that's a man who just does not get enough credit because that is. Yeah. I mean, it's a great film, but it is a great piece of writing. I think genuinely,
well, especially if you watch Throw Mama from the Train.
Right,
and then watch Rocky. You'd be really impressed that he could.
Okay,
that's the same person.
That is the same person. Yeah.
What was the one he wrote where he was either an ex-cop or a security guard?
Copland.
Copland. He wrote that as well. That was brilliant.
Copland's phenomenal movie. Yeah.
Yeah, he has his moments, don't he?
Did Stallone write Copland, really? I did not know that. Oh, God. Because I love that film.
I don't honestly know if he did write Copland.
He's bloody brilliant in it.
It is bloody brilliant. I on my recent I'm going to watch everything Jason Statham has ever made watch. Every now and then I have these rushes of blood to the head. There is a film. There is a Statham film that was written by Stallone, and it was one of the best of the Stathams, and yet it still had the same plot as every other Jason Statham film, which is someone is mean to Jason Statham or one of Jason Statham's friends. Jason Statham asks them to stop. They don't stop. He hits them until they stop. Roll credits. But I think it was a leftover screenplay that Stallone wrote for himself in his early days and ended up being made by Statham.
Nice. James Mangold wrote Copland. It wasn't Stallone. I was wrong.
He's a hell of a writer.
But no, Copland's oh my God, what a great film. And Stallone in that though, because he's so like, what I love about that is just how vulnerable he is in that film. Like he's such a broken, barely functioning human being in that movie. And it's such a beautiful performance. I mean, he's really he just looks like the world's most kicked puppy dog. You know, in that film, you're really just like, oh, could someone please just give this man a hug? Like, he's just like, he's in need of like a 4-year hug or something because it's just horrible the way life has treated this guy. You know, I love it.
Well, you talked about kicked puppy dog. Yeah. I think that kicked puppy dog is the entire reason Cobra Kai works because Johnny What's His Face just can do that look of I am a puppy dog trying to do the right thing and I've wrecked everything and I don't understand why. And I think that is the entire success of it. It's just that one look.
Nice.
I'm just reading this. We've got Fiddles says, "Oh, I would love a Statham binge," and then Mark's still taking more pills because he's just put Crank on repeat. Give yourself a heart attack, mate.
Yeah, that's my idea of a Statham binge. Just watch that 3 times in a row.
Nice.
I don't think I've ever watched a Jason Statham film.
I really like the first 2 Guy Ritchies. I like Snatch and I like Lock, Stock, and I think he's great in both of those. I mean, I think they're. He's
arguably better in Snatch. Actually,
yeah, I was going to say.
Go for that one.
Yeah.
And the Meg wasn't bad, you know.
Oh, okay.
I quite enjoyed that.
I don't think I got that far, but maybe.
I really enjoyed that. Okay. But he did the Death Race. Well, he did the Death Race remake, which I don't know if I've just quietened by saying Death Race remake.
Yeah, he did that.
That went down really well. That went down really well, didn't it? I enjoy stuff like that. I don't know.
Is there an actor that you'd like to write for? If you were like given a golden ticket so you can write for anybody, or maybe an ensemble, do you have like a mental cast of people to go, oh, if I had them? Yeah.
Well, Stallone would be a start. But I do think that Jodie Comer, who I've actually written for, bizarrely, so I'm really not answering the question.
It's cheating a little bit.
Yeah.
But
what did you write?
I wrote My Mad Fat Diary, series 2, which she was in as the best friend, and then she went on to Killing Eve and kind of superstardom. But I do think she's one of the best young actors coming through in this country. But the weird thing is for me, it's the character. It's never really the person playing it. I mean, they bring it to life, and they will make or break whether your thing is successful or not. But it's characters that I fall in love with, and that's kind of up to me a little bit to make them as interesting as possible. You kind of dream of you want playing it, obviously. But it's normally myself. Still wanting to be an actor, really. Still really jealous and hate them all because I could never be an actor. So, leading female role, me. I just picture me.
Is there a part that you would like to play?
There was. We wrote a pilot of a sitcom about 10 years ago, myself and Tom Bidwell, who has a show coming out on Netflix in 2 weeks' time called The Irregulars.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's going to be fantastic. Luckily, I'm going to see a preview next week. So I'll double check. It'll be fantastic, but I'm absolutely sure it will. But we wrote this hospital-based drama that had Jack O'Connell in the lead, and we wrote a pilot for BBC 3, and there was a part in it. And by this point, I'd really just given in all hopes of acting because me and my wife did a theatre piece, and I couldn't remember any lines at all. It was like my ability to learn lines had left me. Something about being a writer does not lend itself to being able to remember lines. I don't know why. But there was a part we wrote that was almost silent, but when he did speak, he was like this crazy porter that hated all the kids. But when he did speak, it was like hilarious. And so I was like, I'm writing this for you, but I have to play that part. And they were like, okay, great. And we got a pilot commissioned by BBC 3, and I was like, get in. I'm going to finally be on telly, and I'm going to shine because it's perfect for me. It's just some scruffy fat porter who doesn't really say much, and it's horrible. It's written for me. And literally written for me by me. And then about a week before filming, I got a phone call and says, hey, listen, Joe Wilkinson's just said he'll play that part. Do you mind? I was like, oh, what? You're kidding me. I got usurped by Joe Wilkinson. It was great. I couldn't say no to it because it was funny. But then that was almost on the very day that BBC 3 moved to digital.
Right.
And it never ever happened.
It's coming back to terrestrial, isn't it, BBC 3?
I know. I hope they can bring my life back from 6 years ago when they ruined it.
First thing they should show should be your pilot. That should be what
I think it would only be fair, wouldn't it? Really,
definitely.
A bit of hero worship from Katie. She's just because you wrote an episode of Call the Midwife, and that episode of Call the Midwife, we don't know what that episode is, but clearly something special.
Well, I assume you do, but yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
Well, I sort of remember. It was interesting because I was a first on Call the Midwife. I was the first person to write a story that wasn't from the book, which is kind of why they'd hired me, because I'd just left Casualty at the time, so they wanted someone who could create medical drama. So they got me in to write that. But I was also the first person not to have. Oh God, who was the woman who played Chummy? She's in the sitcom. She's quite a tall lady.
Oh,
God,
Lord.
Miranda.
Yeah.
I was also the first person not to have Miranda in their episode.
Huh.
Which was a bit of a kick in the teeth because I think she was the biggest draw for the audience. But no, it was funny because I don't think male writers are not getting much of a look in, and they probably haven't done since about series 3 or 4.
Well, it was very popular with Katie Tree on our chat, so there you go.
Yeah.
You're getting rave reviews there.
I'm going to spring the music question on Kit.
Oh no!
It was a shocker for him.
But I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, and Bruce
I've got nothing prepared.
Bruce Springsteen's band, as was someone else, and I've forgotten who.
The Black Crows are also banned.
Yeah,
those are the only 2 bands I've been listening to for about the last month. So naturally, I'm not allowed to pick it.
Last month, you liar. Last 5 years. But this gives Mark a bit of time to think. We do the Writeopolis playlist on Spotify when I remember to add the tracks on. So we ask our guests to give us a track that they would like to add to the Writeopolis playlist. Do you want me to go first, Kit? Do you want a little bit?
Yeah, no, you go first because I want to keep everyone in suspense with my brilliant choice that I'm not at all trying to think of while you pick yours.
Okay, well, I'm going for this song purely because it's welded into my head. My son is learning to play guitar, and he's being taught by James Smith, who is the singer for a band called Yard Act, who are #1 in the vinyl singles chart at the moment, and they're amazing. Even Kit listened to them when I told him to, which was a shocker. But the thing that my boy has chosen to learn to play on guitar is "Nothing But a Good Time" by Poison. So it's that beginning riff is played a lot in our house at the moment. It's well into bed, and it's quite good. So that's my choice. Is "Nothing But a Good Time" by Poison.
I feel like you've already. I don't feel like that's the first time that's been added to the playlist. I might be wrong about that, but I feel like this has come up before. I don't know.
I might have mentioned it before, but I don't think I've actually.
Okay. I just don't want it on the playlist twice, I think is what I'm saying. Like, if it comes up, it comes up. And if I have to listen to it twice as much as every other song, I'm not going to be super happy about that.
If it doesn't, his other one that he's learning to play is the Pokemon theme tune. So that, it's one of them too. We're going to be going with. But is Scott there? Has Scott got a song?
I do. I will nominate a song that I haven't heard in ages that I've been listening to a lot this week. Because it was in the original 5-minute trailer they did for Angel that was never broadcast. And it's a song called Touched by a band called Vast.
Oh, gosh, I know them vaguely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Kit, are you ready yet?
Not really. But I'll just go with... Okay, let's go with... Let's go with Iggy Pop. Let's go with mid to late career Iggy Pop. Let's go with a song from the album where I saw him on tour supporting Green Day, which was hilarious because he was a million times better than Green Day. And it was just one of those live performances where you're like, yeah, okay, they shouldn't have booked you because you made them look bad. So we'll go with Beat 'Em Up, which is the title track from the album Beat 'Em Up, which he was touring at the time, and which is just a really great, dirty Iggy Pop song.
And Mark?
I'm going to throw a right curveball into this.
That's good because we get a lot of metal.
Oh, don't you worry about that. We're not going anywhere near that. So I suffer from earworms. I don't know if you're aware of what they are.
Right. Yeah.
Which is songs will often get stuck in my head and will not leave, and will be there at 4:00 in the morning when you reach out for a drink. And so I had to try and find a way of getting away from this. I genuinely had to stop listening to the music that I loved because it would just get stuck in my head. And I discovered Classic FM as just background noise, right? So as my curveball, I'm going to throw in my favourite piece of classical music.
I thought you were going to say the whole of Classic FM, and that was going to ruin it.
Well, it's going to ruin it a fair bit because it's probably about 17 minutes long. But Ray Vaughan Williams' The Lark Ascending is the most beautiful piece of music ever written, I believe. And Classic FM listeners believe as well, because it is #1 in their charts.
Well, two number ones we mentioned.
Can't possibly argue with them.
Wouldn't really know how to, would we?
Well, exactly.
No.
Your music's got no words.
There's a lot of intermediate steps that would be necessary before I would be able to argue with the listeners of Classic FM, and I don't know what any of them are, so it's not happening. Let's face it.
I think we've only run 10 minutes over. That's quite good for us.
Very, very disciplined. Yeah,
very disciplined, and I think Mark has been absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely,
do you know what I found cures earworms though? The A-Team theme tune.
You're going to give me that now, aren't you? That will keep me awake tonight, won't it? Clearly.
RJ's little gift to you on the way out the door. Isn't that nice?
Cheers, RJ. Thank you very much.
This was going to be my little gift. As I was going to say something shocking to Mark, and then we were going to have.
I genuinely thought you'd gone offline then for a second. It went so quiet. I was like, what? Has it all gone wrong? Has it just cut me off?
Yeah, I couldn't work out. My original plan was to play it through my computer and have the microphone pick it up, but I realised about 2 minutes before I came on that I listened to it on headphones. So that didn't work. I'd just be playing it to myself. So I had to port it over to my phone and play it on my phone, and it didn't really like doing it. I put a lot of work in for you, though, Mark.
Oh no, cheers, mate. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I normally get the Casualty theme tune if I'm on something.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they did that banging dance version of that, didn't they, in the early 2000s? If I remember rightly. It was a dance remix.
There was a dance remix, and it was done by a friend of mine.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, it was dreadful.
I feel guilty about saying the word banging, ironically. I take it back.
No, it was dreadful. It's fine.
I thought it did bang, but that's not, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's been chaotic fun, to be honest with you. I'm glad I had a drink before I came on.
You wouldn't know. You sound like you always sound to me.
Well, I just found it. You know, if I was sober, I'd just found it a very weird experience, the whole thing.
I think that's going to be my epitaph, to be fair. So
I'm quite impressed that we've got through an hour and 10 minutes with Mark Catley, and you've only mentioned golf once, which I think is a first for me talking.
Do you know what I was going to open up this with? I've been researching for this conversation by watching the golf. That's what I was doing for 2 hours before this started. I was watching golf on telly and thinking I should really be thinking about what TV shows I've been watching recently, but I'm not. I'm watching golf. Yes, sorry, I mentioned golf a lot. Yeah. I did used to come round to your house after I'd been boxing as well.
You did, yeah.
Which is a far more interesting sport.
Yeah, and you've not been boxing, presumably, because of the lockdown.
No. My shadow boxing skills are second to none at the moment, but actual boxing, rubbish.
I was just thinking about socially distanced boxing. That just pleases me. It feels like a Monty Python sketch, doesn't it? Like, I think it'd work really well.
That's the kind of ring that I'd like to get into, though. I don't think I want to get into a ring with someone who's going to actually hit me.
No, right. Well, I was thinking it'd be ideal for me as well, yeah.
I mean, socially distanced boxing, I might suggest.
Yeah, I could give that a go, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, we could have a fight.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Get it
on.
We
might be doing it now. Who knows? I mean, it's...
a very different version of Rocky, wasn't it? It's a draw. It's definitely a draw.
It's definitely.
Oh, the fun of podcasts. I'll do them again.
We would have you back again.
In a heartbeat. This has been absolutely... I feel like, seriously, I could have picked your brains just about EastEnders for hours. I'm absolutely fascinated by that as a world and as a writing process and all that stuff. So if you could bear to come back at some point, I would really love to. Yeah, I'd love to talk to you again.
I would. I could tell you some tales.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Can you tell them for broadcast?
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't work for him anymore.
And I would like us all to watch Giri Haji and come back and just talk about that, because I do think it's something really interesting on television, which is rare to see something that far depths out of what you expect from television.
I promise I'll watch it. I'll watch it, because I tried to get my wife to watch adult material with me last night, and she got halfway through the first episode and just looked at me and went, "Why are you making me watch this?"
What is adult material? What is that?
It's genuinely interesting. It's a drama set around a woman who works in the porn industry.
It's Billy.
No, that's I Hate Susie or something, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah. No, this is called Adult Material. It was by Channel 4. I've never seen that sort of material on television, or that sort of subject broached. So it's interesting for that, but it's a very hard watch. It doesn't pull any punches. And my wife was just like, "This is your idea of entertaining me on an evening." So I think Girl Haji might be a better way.
It's
a brighter move.
Just really interesting things with dual narratives as well. It's just really lovely. I'm really bad at watching anything that's hard. Like, I've not watched I Will Destroy You, and I've avoided It's a Sin because I know.
Oh my God! I got to tell you though, I watched that. Bloody hell, that's good. I mean, that is like Russell T Davies at his best is pretty peerless, and I think. I don't know if it's the best thing he's ever done, but it's got to be up there. It's got to be like top 3 Rusty. And it is, oh my God, that last episode. But it is a crowbar to the soul. I mean, you do need to be heavily fortified, because it absolutely just... And it's like, I love it, because you can see him like... It's almost like the entire show, all 4 parts, is just Russell T Davies just loading this pistol. And loading it up, and you're just watching, going, yeah. And then he points the thing at you, and you're like, "You're really not going to," and it's like, yeah, yeah, I am. I absolutely am. And he felt it, man. I'm telling you, he felt that last episode. He had some stuff he wanted to get off his chest.
Yeah.
It's good.
One of the greatest TV writers working.
He is, isn't he? I think so. Yeah. He's right up there. And that one, because it did, I don't know if you've seen it, but it felt really personal, that. You know, it really felt like...
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah, he had stuff to get off his chest.
Yeah. And it was like punches pulled 0. And I loved it. But it was heavy.
Russell T is a massive Casualty fan, which is amazing. And what's more amazing is that he would email me on a regular basis telling me how much he enjoyed the episode and stuff.
Oh, man, that is lovely.
He's like,
how cool is that?
The most supportive, famous writer I've ever met in my life. Although I might be doing Pete Balkan a disservice there, because he's a nice guy as well.
Sure.
Why didn't we ever get a Mark Catley Doctor Who episode? That's what I want to know now.
Wow.
Do you know, I asked, and the weird thing is that Chris Chibnall. Well, yeah, so I missed out with Russell because I was just starting out when he was doing the reboot.
Okay, yeah.
But I do know Chris Chibnall quite well. And we'd spoken a few times. But I think it was around the time that I was doing the Call the Midwife stuff.
Right.
And kind of trying to branch out into other shows. But I've always said to my agent that's, Doctor Whoever comes up, put me forward for it. I just don't think I remembered, to be perfectly honest.
Do you want us to write an angry email? Because we can write an angry email.
We can do that.
I'm writing it right now in my head. I could
write it to Chris Chibnall. Just mention. You once said you liked Mark Catley's writing. So why on earth?
I understand he's available for work.
So why on earth would you? The ironic thing is that I'm probably not available for work until about March next year. Lockdown has been surprisingly good for me.
Can you tell us? We usually talk about what we're working on.
That's true. We skipped that bit entirely, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, very, very quickly, I'm not working for British Drama. I'm writing for NBC.
Wow.
M, not N.
Yeah.
Which is Middle East Broadcasting. Which is basically Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and all that area. And they're trying to break into the streaming platform TV stuff. So they are literally throwing money at writers to get series made. And since, probably since the start of last year, myself and John York and another brilliant writer called Al Smith, who's mainly a theatre writer and a brilliant radio writer, we've churned out 3 series worth. And the subject matter is unbelievable. It's historical, it's really political, it's kind of stuff I've never been able to touch before. It's so exciting. And yeah, brilliant. And we've just landed on our feet, just in a very bad time for British television. We've been able to get like a steady income of work from.
It's really good. It's good
from overseas. Yeah,
good stuff.
And I'm trying to beat the system from inside as well. That's the other thing. I'm trying to change Saudi Arabia by my writing. I'm joking, completely joking. I've got no belief that my writing is that powerful enough to change people's minds.
We didn't even get onto that because you do have a massive social conscience as well, which is...
Well, yeah, I mean, the other thing that I've been doing, I've balanced it out writing for Saudi Arabia by working as a volunteer since March last year. So I've been working for a company called Slumlow, who are an amazing outdoor theatre company, but are also a food bank in Holbeck in South Leeds. And they became a food bank purely by wondering what to do when they were told that they had to close down as a theatre company. And they had all this space. And so they filled it with food, and they gave it to people who needed it, and I helped them. And I've been doing that ever since. And we now do 250 referrals a week. I'm bringing the mood down slightly here. 250 social referrals a week in Beeston, Holbeck and Cottingley. And it's just, it's theatre in itself, because we're a theatre company, we're doing that thing. This is what we're doing now. So this is what theatre is now. Theatre is helping people, it's helping the community, it's been part of the community that you're based in. And so that's been, kind of a massive boost throughout all this horror show that we've been living through. And I'm also a trained vaccinator. So you better be careful when you sit down. You don't get my smiling eyes behind the mask. And going,
I've already done.
Have you?
Yeah.
Because if you happen to walk in, I'd be like, I'm sorry, Mr. Back, we've decided that we need to deliver this vaccine in a different orifice than you. Could you lean your head back whilst I just put it up your nose, please? Very effective if we just inject it straight into the brain.
I don't know. It made my arm hurt for 3 days. I couldn't lift my arm.
I had COVID for 2 days after my injection. Like full COVID, like all the symptoms, and I was like, "Oh my god, what's happening to me?
What have I done?"
But it turned out I had a very good reaction to it. It just meant, your immune system has kicked in.
Yeah.
It's fine. So, have your vaccine. I didn't say that to put people off.
Yeah, God, please, absolutely. Yeah.
And I didn't say that I was going to be delivering the vaccine to put people off either. I promise I've got a very gentle touch.
Yeah, and you're not putting it straight into people's brains unless you know them.
No, unless I know, yeah. Unless I think it'll be funny. And and I do a bit of shadow boxing first with needle, just to,
just to put you at ease.
Relax. Is it coming on my left? Is it right? Bang. Look over there. Poof. Right. It's been the most fun I've had all week.
Oh, it's been an absolute joy. Yeah.
It is always lovely to speak to you again, Matt. And we'll do this again. We'll do either.
Definitely.
Gary had you in our EastEnders one, so Kit can ask.
Yeah.
We might even write some questions down or something. I don't know.
Might even give me some heads up as to what them questions may be.
No.
Seems unlikely. Unlikely. Got to be honest. That would be breaking the format a little bit. Let's be fair now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm always shocked by the amount of time people say they're going to interview me and then they say, "I'll send you the questions beforehand." What's the point in that?
Well, I send you the answers. We can all go home.
I'll Google the cleverest possible answer and give you those. Don't send it to me. Ask me and I'll tell you the truth. Anyway, an hour and a half. We've got all the way through. We're finished, and I've not even mentioned that I am an award-winning author.
That's true. It didn't even come up. How astonishing is that?
What? How many awards have you won, Ajay?
I've won one, Mark.
Sorry, how many, mate? How many?
just the one, Mark.
Oh, the one. Okay, cool.
How many?
Because I know you said double BAFTA winner at the beginning, but the continuation of that sentence would be double BAFTA winner, NTA winner, and 3 times RTS winner.
Blimey, but that would have involved some.
I mean, if we're being pedantic,
if you're giving someone the full title, yeah.
If we're going to be pedantic, we'd do it that way. But we're not. We're a little bit more laid back than that.
Yeah. I don't even know what an NTS award is.
NTA, National Television Award, right?
All right.
Tiny story, I promise. So that was for Casualty, National Television Award. It was the Best Drama Award, and it was a viewers' vote. The public voted for it, and we were up against Game of Thrones, Cold Feet, and something else really big. I think it was Peaky Blinders. And we were all sat there drunk out of our faces going, we ain't got a chance in hell. Not a hope in hell of winning this. Then Claudia Winkleman read out and the nominees are Game of Thrones, silence. Cold Feet, silence. Peaky Blinders, silence. Casualty, loads of cheering from the galleries. Nice. And me and my mate all looked at each other and went, nah. And they read it out. And the winner is Casualty. It was just that was, the BAFTA was good, but that was just like...
that's magic, isn't it?
We just beat Game of Thrones, man.
Was it televised? Is there you drunk on television having to make an exception somewhere?
Yes, it was televised. I was drunk. I didn't have a tie on. I didn't have a jacket. I didn't even have a jacket on.
We'll have to find that on YouTube.
I'm going to say YouTube it, man. It'll be there.
Yeah. And in fact, the Casualty BAFTA, that was the 6th or 7th BAFTA I'd been to, and I'd lost every time. And again, I'd taken my jacket off and my tie because I was not convinced. And my reaction to when it was written out, when it was read out that we'd won, was to slap both hands to my forehead like some cartoon character. I don't know how that was a natural reaction, but that was my reaction to it. I literally slapped my forehead with both hands.
I feel that should be a GIF.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm gonna tell my winning the British Fantasy Award because it's probably the only winning an award story I'll ever get to tell. I didn't watch it because I'm not particularly actually interested in awards. I think they're a bit weird. Mark. And I wasn't watching it, and I'd just been up to see my boy in his bedroom, and I was coming back when my agent texted me, and it just said, "You've only fucking won." And he texted me, just there's 3 steps in our flat. That's the entirety of the steps in our flat, and I got that just as I hit the first step, and I promptly fell down the stairs.
That should also be a GIF.
Yeah.
So winning awards is bad because it makes you hurt yourself. As me,
makes you fall down the stairs.
Yeah. Or slap yourself in the face like Mark did.
Either way,
I did hurt myself. I did hit myself quite hard.
So RJ, that makes you the first person I know who, upon being surprised, has actually gone straight to the foot of the stairs.
Yeah. Proper Yorkshire.
Aye, I've got to the foot of our stairs.
So what are the RTS ones? Radio and television?
They're the Royal Television. They're Royal Television. They're Royal. Not radio. Royal. Not Harry and Meghan. But
no, not anymore. I don't think so. They're off the list.
Proper Royal. So one was RTS Yorkshire for Best Writer. That was for the Casualty episode I was telling you about before. The one about the student nurse, the student doctor. And then we won a RTS award for Casualty, like national. And then we won another RTS Yorkshire award for Slung Low, which is the company who are now doing the food bank. But we did an outdoor broadcast in Hull on a freezing cold rainy night of a play about the end of the world, where the world is flooded. and we won it for that. So yeah, they were really nice.
That's brilliant. And we'll give you a round of applause, Mark. You've been brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Good.
It is always a joy to speak to you, and hopefully I'll see you in real life soon when you can box again.
Mate. Yes, yep. I'm about 200 yards away from you, where I go to my gym, so
yeah,
I will bob up all sweaty and horrible like I do normally, and then promise you that I'll make assassins and I'll sell it to a company.
Sell it to Saudi Arabia. There you go.
Yeah, they'll really go for that.
There you go.
There's plenty of barren landscapes to be able to film it in.
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
You might be onto something there.
Hey, it was 10 years from the first time Ollie Milburn contacted me and said, I'm going to make your book into a film, before the film actually came out. So you've got plenty of time yet.
Yeah. We're only 2 years down this line.
We are.
Yeah.
It's quite exciting. And there's the bone ships now as well, which I'm just finishing the last one, just doing the proofs for it, and I'm hating every second of doing it. But yeah.
Congratulations on your award, though, mate. It was much deserved and really enjoyable to see someone that, I knew when they were starting out.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
Let's overuse the word journey again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a journey, hasn't it?
It's been a definite journey. And you've got a round of applause from the citizens of Writeopolis. That's not happening.
Really?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys.
They're quite sniffy usually, actually.
They are, yeah, to be honest. They're a bit standoffish. Yeah.
They seem
Yeah.
effing lovely, if you don't mind me saying.
Well, they won't. They won't mind you saying that at all.
Right. It is 2 minutes past 10.
Yeah.
Oh, it's bedtime. That is bedtime, definitely.
It's definitely bedtime.
It's definitely bedtime. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Do you want to tell who we've got next week? Not next week, next fortnight.
Next fortnight, we have got another BAFTA winner. We've got Stephen Volk.
What?
Yeah.
He's only got one, though, hasn't he? Has he got one?
Stephen, I don't want to speculate. Don't ask me. Christ, I had one line. Don't ask me for detail. I am not prepared. I've got 2 weeks before I have to do his introduction. I'll look it up, okay? He's got at least one BAFTA and an unknown number of other awards, potentially also including other BAFTAs. Stephen Volk.
What does he identify as?
Stephen Volk. Screenwriter. I don't know. What are you doing to me? Yeah, he wrote Ken Russell's Gothic. He wrote
Ghostwatch.
Ghostwatch, exactly. Yeah.
About that because
ITV show Midwinter of the Spirit and
so good. How did that not get a second series?
Really gutted it didn't get a second season. Yeah, and he's also Afterlife, that's right. And
that was good. I liked Afterlife. Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah, he's a good writer. And an absolute ton of novels, novellas, short stories as well, which is, I'm actually more familiar with his prose work, or as much familiar with his prose work as his screenwriting. But yeah, he's an incredibly talented and lovely man. So looking forward to talking with him.
Brilliant. So,
all right.
Good night, everyone. You have been fantastic. And see you in a fortnight with Stephen Volk. And probably have Mark back at some point, I think.
Definitely. That'd be great.
Night, everybody.
Cheers.
Night, gang.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Writeopolis records alternating Sundays via Discord. To take part in future shows, visit patreon.com/Writeopolis podcast to find our server details. You can also support the show there in return for Discord perks and early access. If you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and spread the word. Thanks again. Writeopolis, we're not just gonna kid it. Writeopolis, we're not just gonna kid, yeah.